Welcome to the Super Intergalactic Board, for we are going to address the challenges of the last week. Gather all the living things mentioned in your curriculum, which I did, and so should you. To the next one, which says, define them. So what should we do to be defining it, and not just talking nonsense? In science, we are said to be defining it when we give conditions that are physically testable, which will the thing have to verify to be called alive. So what we are looking for are physically verifiable characters that are only in the things we call living and absent in the things we call non-living. So let's try to find the simplest form of life, which will give us a hint about what is going on. So we take our plant and break it down. And also we take a bacteria and break it down. The bacteria died almost instantly. And the parts we reach that, if you consider them as living, does not have any similarities to each other that non-livings couldn't have. Which means that calling them living things makes living things undefinable. But if you consider those parts as non-living, you will be seeing that bacteria is one of the simplest forms of life. However, when we do the same to our plant, we will see similar patterns grouped together. And if you go to any of the patterns, the results will be the same. Similar patterns grouped together. Then at some point, you will reach at a structure that looks similar to the bacteria's one. And break it down will give the same results as the bacteria. And this hopefully will be the simplest form of life, which is the so-called cell, which must be not only present in the living thing, but also a structural functioning unit within it. Then what things keeps a cell well, a cell? First, we should consider the complexity of the structure as a must. Then obviously, the molecule should be in some patterns or shapes, because not any form could be considered a cell, which will give us the second character, highly ordered structure. And this structure should be able to perform the necessary chemical reactions. Otherwise, the thing will be a statue of a living thing and not a living thing. So those reactions are also a must. We are not talking about specific structures, so the chemical processes are not necessarily the same. We could have different structures with different chemical reactions. And that is what creates biodiversity, isn't it? There are chemicals that are not part of the initial structure, and they come from the external environment, which means that the chemical reactions should also involve inserting and processing those external chemicals. Then a living thing doesn't come as a full package. It starts with little non-living things clustering in some way to reach the final form where its complexity reaches its maximum and starts falling apart, which means that they change or grow. And to start this complexity from a simple structure, we need instructions like a code and production material and building machines, which will come from the previous one, or the parent. Then we'll produce our new living thing, and the process is the so-called reproduction. I think I covered it all, so to the next one, which says categorize them. That's an easy one because the more a living thing is matching the life categories of another one, it should be in hierarchical form, meaning that the characteristics should have some superiority level between them. And those living things should be maintaining the characteristics of life more similarly to each other. So based on that, we will categorize them according to how similar they maintain the characteristics of life. But like I said, the characters will have different priorities. Example, a dog and cat are similar in complexity or amount of substance or amount of chemical they have, but a lion is more like a cat in structure than a dog. So in this case, higherly orderedness will be the deciding character, which will make the lion and cat in one group. So I hope this video helped you understand it better. If you have any questions, write them in the comments so that I could answer them in future videos.